Have you ever stayed somewhere so isolated, so far removed from everything familiar, that the silence itself starts to feel alive? Across the world, deep in forests, mountains, deserts, and frozen wilderness, tiny survival shelters exist for one purpose: to protect travelers from the elements. They're called bothies, simple huts, cabins, or mountain shelters, usually unlocked and free for anyone who needs them. But the people who build them aren't always the only ones living there. Hikers have reported hearing footsteps pacing outside at night when the ground is covered in fresh snow, but no tracks are ever found. Others wake up to see someone sitting quietly in a corner, only for that figure to vanish when they blink. Doors slam, windows rattle, and sometimes a voice whispers directly into your ear, asking you one chilling question: are you traveling alone? Tonight, we're exploring the 7 most haunted bothies around the world, places where travelers enter seeking shelter, but never forget what they experienced inside. Welcome back to Paranormal Square. If you love true-style ghost encounters, real haunted locations, and long-form scary stories told in a cinematic style, make sure you're subscribed, because tonight's journey is a global one. From the Scottish Highlands, to the Arctic Circle, to the haunted mountain shelters of Japan, these are the bothies hikers swear are haunted. Let's start where these stories began, in the cold, windswept mountains of Scotland. Story 1. The Strathcarron Bothy, Scotland. Deep in the Scottish Highlands, there's a bothy near the Strathcarron region, known locally as the Watcher's Rest. It's a simple stone hut, one room, one fireplace, and a heavy wooden door that groans when the wind hits it just right. A pair of hikers, David and Rowan, stayed there during an unexpected storm. They arrived exhausted, soaked, and freezing. As soon as they settled in, strange things started happening. Around midnight, Rowan sat up suddenly. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. David shook his head, half asleep, until he heard it too. Footsteps. Slow, steady, circling the bothy. They grabbed their flashlights and checked outside. Nothing but untouched snow. Not a single footprint anywhere. Back inside, things escalated. The footsteps returned, this time followed by 3 loud knocks on the door. David swung it open. Again, nothing. For hours, it continued. Footsteps circling, knocking, whispering voices just outside the walls. At sunrise, as they packed their gear, they noticed something neither had seen the night before: handprints on the frosted window. But the prints weren't outside. They were inside. Local lore says a Highland soldier froze to death outside that bothy in the 1800s, trying to find shelter. People claim he still wanders the snow, looking for someone to open the door for him. And when the knocking starts, you're not supposed to answer. Story 2. The Arctic Ghost Cabin, Norway. On the coast of Troms, Norway, there's a tiny emergency hut built for Arctic storms. It's called the Stormbreaker, though most locals refuse to use it, because you can see something inside the cabin that shouldn't be there. In 2019, a photographer named Amund was caught in a brutal snowstorm while hiking the frozen coast. He spotted the Stormbreaker hut and rushed toward it. But when he reached the door, he realized the structure was warped and partially collapsed. The door was fused shut by ice. No way in. But through the frosted window, he saw a man sitting on the bunk inside. The man wasn't wearing a coat. He wasn't moving. He was just staring. Amund pounded on the glass, shouting for him to open the door. But the man didn't react at all. Amund was forced to dig himself a snow pit and wait out the storm. When the winds finally calmed, he checked the window again. The man was gone. A rescue team later confirmed something disturbing. That cabin hasn't been accessible for more than 20 years. The interior is collapsed, the floor rotted through. No one could survive inside it. Locals believe the spirit is a fisherman who froze during a storm in the 80s and still waits inside the cabin he never made it out of. Story 3. The Yukon Trappers, Bothy, Canada. In the Yukon wilderness, far beyond cell service, sits an old trapper's bothy built in the 1930s. Travelers call it Knife Creek Cabin because of what they hear there at night. A pair of backcountry skiers stayed there in 2016. After building a fire and settling down, they heard a sharp, rhythmic scraping sound, metal against stone, like someone sharpening a knife. They searched the room with flashlights. Nothing. The sound continued anyway. The skiers tried to sleep, but around 2 a.m. the second sound started. Heavy footsteps on the wooden porch. Thump. 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 Then came a voice. "Cold night for travel." The skiers froze. The voice was deep, tired, and right outside the door. They quietly looked out the small window, but saw no one. Only untouched snow. The next morning, they found something new. Fresh boot prints on the porch leading right up to the door, but not away from it. No one found any explanation. According to Yukon legends, a trapper once lived and died in that cabin during a brutal winter. Some say he lost his mind. Some say starvation drove him to darker things. People who stay there claim he still walks the porch at night, sharpening his blade. Story 4. The Mountain Monk's Hut, Japan. High in the mountains above Nagano sits a small shelter used by monks for centuries. It's known as the Hermit's Hut, and modern hikers often use it to rest. But anyone who sleeps there reports the same chilling experience. A hiker named Kaito stayed the night alone. In the early hours, he woke to soft tapping on the wooden shutters. Tap, 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 he called out, assuming another hiker had gotten lost. "Is someone there?" A voice whispered back. "Are you traveling alone?" Kaito froze. The voice was right against the window, but it sounded wrong. Too breathy, too close. He jumped up, flung the shutters open, and saw no one. But something else was sitting in the doorway of the hut. A shadowy figure, legs crossed, head tilted downward like a bowing monk. Its voice returned. "Don't stay until sunrise." When Kaito blinked, the figure was gone. He packed and left immediately, hiking down in total darkness. Locals later told him the hut was once used by a hermit monk who died there in solitude. Some say his spirit warns travelers of dangerous weather. Others think he simply doesn't want anyone disturbing his eternal meditation. Either way, you should never answer when he taps. Story 5. The Phantom Whistler, New Zealand. Deep in the backcountry of Fiordland is a remote bothy used by hunters. They call it the Whistler's Hut. Two brothers camping there woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of someone whistling outside. Not a tune, not a melody, just one long, high note. Steady, unbroken, moving around the hut. The brothers grabbed their rifles and checked outside, but saw no one. The whistling stopped only when they spoke. Then they discovered something strange. The wind had suddenly died. Total silence, the kind before a storm. They packed and hiked out early. A ranger later told them that years ago, a hiker died in a sudden landslide nearby. People say he whistles to warn travelers of danger, but the whistle only stops once you acknowledge you've heard him. Those who ignore the sound, sometimes, never make it out. Story 6. The Fireplace. Stranger, United States, Appalachian Trail. Along the Appalachian Trail, there's a primitive shelter known for one terrifying encounter. A backpacker named Elise arrived at the Cold Creek shelter exhausted. She lit a small fire, cooked, and eventually fell asleep. In the middle of the night, she woke to the sound of someone adding wood to the fire. A man sat beside the flames, his face dimly lit. Backpack, jacket, boots soaked from rain. Elise was startled but relieved, until she realized the shelter entrance was still blocked by her pack. No one could have come in. She asked, "Are you okay?" The man didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. She blinked once, and he was gone. The fire hissed as if someone had just stepped through it. Elise ran out of the shelter and waited until morning. Rangers later told her hikers have seen that same silent man for decades, always sitting by the fire, always gone when you blink. Some think he's a lost hiker who died of exposure. Others think he's something older. But everyone agrees on one thing: never fall asleep with the fire burning. Story 7. The Lava Field Spirit Hut, Iceland. Near the edge of an Icelandic lava field sits one of the strangest bothies on Earth. It's small, metal, and designed to withstand brutal volcanic winds. But travelers say the real danger isn't the weather. A solo backpacker named Freya stayed there overnight. Around midnight, the ground began to vibrate. Softly at first, then violently enough to shake her sleeping bag. She rushed outside, terrified the volcano was erupting. But the sky was calm and silent. When she stepped back inside, a low humming sound filled the room. Not mechanical, not electrical, almost like chanting. It grew louder and louder until it felt like the walls were breathing. Then everything stopped. Dead silence. Freya turned around and saw a dark silhouette standing at the back of the shelter. Not moving, not threatening, just watching. When she blinked, it dissolved into mist. Locals believe the hut sits on land belonging to Vetter, Icelandic land spirits who protect sacred ground. Some say the vibrations and humming are warnings to leave. Others think the spirits appear to judge whether hikers are respectful. Freya packed and left before sunrise. She said the scariest part wasn't the shaking hut, but the feeling that the spirits weren't trying to harm her. They were deciding if they should let her leave. Bothies are meant to save lives. Tiny shelters, standing alone in some of the harshest environments on the planet. But the travelers who stay in them know the truth. Some of these shelters protect more than hikers. Some protect the spirits still wandering those remote places. And some hold the memories of people who never made it home. If you enjoyed tonight's Global Hauntings, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It truly helps Paranormal Square grow. And remember, wherever you travel, whatever shelter you enter, you never know who might already be inside.